Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Oh, yeah, let's get a kick in here on a Tuesday. In the Buffalo Wild Wings studios here at the Ref, this is Locked In. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton with you. G-Baby, how we feeling?
You know, my day an hour ago got more inconvenient than I had planned it to be.
Explain. Elaborate.
So after this show, I'm going to go home. I'm going to do my SMU work that I need to do for the day.
As one does.
I'm going to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also out of food.
Okay, so you're going grocery shopping is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Tracking.
So, like anybody does who wants to be back home at a reasonable time, I was like, okay, I'm going to order my groceries ahead, get that pickup on the way back from the gym, just go into the parking lot, have somebody deliver it out, we're good to go back home. Well, I guess one of the unintended consequences of Snowmageddon this week is that also everybody's out of food, so all the pickup times at Walmart are booked until Thursday. I cannot wait that long, so now I have to go actually grocery shopping later today.
How long does it take you to grocery shop?
Well, it depends, because usually I shop for about 2 weeks at a time.
Okay, so what, like 20 minutes?
About 35. Also, the reason I do the reason I do pickup is so I don't buy extra stuff.
What's wrong with buying extra stuff?
Well, I mean, that can be a little taxing on the wallet.
It can be.
If you start looking around and sightseeing.
But, I mean, hey, you're purchasing necessities, right? There's nothing.
Fair.
There's nothing you need more than food.
This is true.
As long as the rent bills, as long as the electricity bills are clearing.
Which those are paid.
As long as those checks are clearing. There's really nothing else you need to subsist besides food.
And One Star Chonky Chuck says, the Cheez-Its are calling your name. And that is what I try to avoid by ordering ahead, is so I don't go start looking at goldfish and honey buns.
So you're a pick up your groceries type of guy.
Yes.
I just have never been able to trust someone else to do my grocery shopping for me.
Really?
I don't trust people, and I simultaneously trust people too much and also don't trust people enough. Like when it comes to completing tasks that I need and or want done a certain way, I'm always very reticent to outsource those tasks to other people. Because if I have a certain way I want it done and I don't have someone that I can 100% trust to get it done the way I want it done, I'm just going to do it myself.
See, this is fair, but when it comes to grocery shopping, here's the thing. I'll be done from the gym at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. At that point, I want to get home, turn on the OU game, whatnot, start making –
You want to turn on the OU game?
Or any game that is there. Okay,
I was about to say that because that's a masochistic experience at this point.
Oh, what experience?
Masochistic?
What word is that?
Come on now.
I've never heard that before.
Really?
No.
Text line will help you out.
Anyway, like I want to get home, turn on a game or turn on my show, edit the podcast, get that scheduled out so I can be in the house, not doing something else that'll keep me out there for an extra 30 minutes or tempt me to buy honey buns that I don't really need because I'm on a cut.
Bob from Cement on the text line says, you boys need some deer meat. Hey, hook me up, BFC.
Hey, hook me up too. Actually, one of my buddies brought some deer meat this weekend, and it was pretty damn good.
You cannot go wrong with venison,
Absolutely
man. 405-651-3439 is the text line. The show today and every day brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. They pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly sales staff that puts your needs first before, throughout, and after the buying process. They offer, or I should say, they also offer half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So make the short trek out to El Reno and check out Dorsey Jones GMC. Chucky Chuck says Grayson doesn't have that classical education. Bro doesn't know masochistic.
Actually, I did. Actually, I did have a classical education.
Yeah, I was about to say he definitely did. But basically, it means that you enjoy pain.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't generally do that.
A masochist is someone who enjoys being in pain.
Okay.
Derives pleasure from being in pain, which is somewhat counterintuitive, but
No, yeah, and I've known people in my life who are like that one way or another.
yes, watching OU basketball in the year of our Lord 2026 is a masochistic experience. Gosh, you guys on the tech. Nope, I'm not reading. I'm not reading these texts.
Which one? A text
You
from the
people.
405 did say, after you said the text line will help, a text from the 405 said, "No, the F we won't." I've never heard of that word either.
Oh man. Hey, big day for the Oklahoma staff out on the recruiting trail because they are visiting with 2 high-priority targets down in the Mobile, Alabama area that happen to be childhood friends. We've talked about each of these guys individually. 3-star quarterback target Jamison Roberts, 4-star safety target Jalen Scott. Brent Venables is dropping in on both of these guys later today. And as of right now, Grayson, the Sooners lead for Jamison Roberts. In my evaluation, in my estimation, they lead for Jalen Scott as well. And this would be big for Oklahoma because Jim Nagy has been trying to build that pipeline to the Mobile area. We remember their brief courtship of Malik Franklin at the end of the 2026 cycle. The Sooners would have landed him if Alabama hadn't swooped in at the literal 11th hour and snagged him away. He was from Daphne, Alabama, which I want to say is the alma mater of Pat White, if I recall correctly. West Virginia legend Pat White. But Daphne is one of those Mobile suburbs. Jamison Roberts hails from the Mobile suburb of Saraland. And Jalen Scott is from Mobile proper, Williamson High School. So if the Sooners can maintain the lead, if they can maintain the advantage with those two, that gets you an inroad in a region of the country that Oklahoma historically has not had a ton of success recruiting and that you're going to need inroads at in the years to come because you're in the SEC now. It's never going to be the case in all likelihood that Oklahoma is going to be pulling 5, 6, 7 players a year out of the state of Alabama because there's just so much competition. You have the big in-state brands with Bama and Auburn. You have Ole Miss that recruits that state heavily. Ohio State has been known to go down to Alabama at times and steal a kid or two. You got Georgia not too far away. You got Florida that maintains a strong presence there. So it's a feeding frenzy in that area of the country. But if you're going to swing with the heavy hitters in the SEC, you at least have to be able to go into that territory and fight the battle, Grayson, and hold your own in the battle. You don't have to win every single one, and you're not going to win every single one. But it's going to be a real litmus test for this staff throughout the cycle to see, A, whether they can hold on to Trayvon Hall, their 3-star wide receiver commit from Tuscaloosa that is now picking up all the big SEC offers, and to see whether they can go 2 for 2 with Jamison Roberts and Jalen Scott.
And you know, it's interesting because I have worked with a professional broadcaster for the better part of the last 4 years. And one of the advice he always gives me is keep sowing those seeds and keep sowing those seeds. And it does seem that even if you don't win these battles, like with a Jalen Scott or Trayvon Hall, depending on which direction they go, sowing those seeds matters because let's go to another area of the country that you and I talk about a lot, and that is in the South Dallas area with DeSoto, where Oklahoma just hasn't had a whole lot of luck. You still have to keep trying to sow those seeds and build those relationships. Oklahoma hasn't done that successfully at DeSoto, but you're trying to do so here in this Alabama area. So even if you don't get a base hit at first, keep sowing the seeds, get yourself familiar with the people in the area that can influence these kids one way or another, and it could pay off 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Hell, who knows? There could be a 5-star plus kid that comes up in the class of 2030. If your seeds are sown there, that could come to fruition at that particular moment in time. So to me, it's all about sowing seeds and getting the relationships started.
And Oklahoma has already kind of elbowed its way into the state of Alabama to an extent because they landed Christian Moore out of Selma at the tail end of the 2026 cycle. But that was a Jim Nagy special as far as the eval was concerned. That was a guy that Oklahoma felt was good enough, but that none of the other SEC schools pursued as a scholarship guy. Oklahoma flipped him from North Alabama. So time will tell how good of an eval that was, but you didn't have to go toe-to-toe with the titans of the Southeastern Conference, the old heads, the well-established brands in that conference, to be able to land Christian Moore. You will have to do that with Jamison Roberts. You will have to do that with Jalen Scott. You will have to do that with anybody and everybody that you recruit from the state of Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia. And it is worth noting, Oklahoma got into the state of Mississippi earlier this month, landing Devin Robertson's commitment, the 3-star defensive tackle out of Hattiesburg. Georgia's going to be interesting. Here's a Trivia Tuesday nugget for you. I want to see if you can name the only signee of the Brent Venables era from the state of Georgia.
What year are we looking at here?
The class of 2024.
Okay, this would have been the year before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Is this guy still on the team?
He is not still on the team.
Okay. Not Lewis Carter. He's from Florida.
Yep.
Who is it?
Zion Reagans.
Oh.
Zion Reagans is the only guy that Oklahoma has signed out of the Peach State in the Brent Venables era. They got really, really close in the class of 2023 with Caden McDonald. They were the runner-up in his recruitment.
Okay.
Yes. And that stung and stings today because Caden McDonald got to Ohio State.
And wrecked shop.
3 and out.
Uh-huh.
Off to the NFL after 3 seasons.
Top 10 pick.
Mm-hmm. So a guy like that, if that's the type of guy, and he wasn't a 5-star guy or anywhere close to it. He was a blue chipper, but he was on the low to middle tier of that 4-star spectrum. If those are the types of guys that you can fight battles for in the years to come and win those battles, they all won't end up being Caden McDonald, not by a long shot. Not all of them will wind up being that good. But hey, man, you're going to find a few that will hit. You'll absolutely find a few that will hit because there are some freakish athletic specimens down there in the Southeast, and that's part of the reason why the SEC, from a talent standpoint, is so deep.
And I know they did it with Lewis Carter, but let me ask you this. Has it been a little underwhelming in your mind that when you brought Brent Venables over from Clemson, he had those ties in that southeastern area? Has it been underwhelming? Has it been as expected or maybe even more so than expected that they've had recruiting success in that southeast? How would you judge the Venables era from that perspective?
I would say Brent Venables has done an excellent job recruiting the state of Florida. Oklahoma's had a lot of success in Florida, and a lot of those guys that they've pulled out of the state of Florida in recent years, and that even precedes Venables' arrival. A lot of the guys they've gotten out of the state of Florida have turned out to be really good college players and NFL draft picks. The quintessential example would be Nick Benito, who is one of the top 5 best players in the NFL right now on the defensive side of the football. But Jaden Davis was an NFL draft pick, although he did transfer and spend his 5th season of college ball at Miami after 4 years at OU. But Jaden Davis was a draft pick. Danny Stutzman was a guy that was a little bit under the radar when Oklahoma went and snagged him from the Sunshine State. And he was a guy that could have been off to the NFL after 3 years and gave it some heavy consideration, but played a full 4 seasons. Now he's a New Orleans Saint and is going to have a lengthy career at the professional level with how talented he is. You look at some of the recent signees, recent additions from the state of Florida. A guy that is really catching eyes, even just a couple of weeks into his official tenure as a Sooner, for his performance in winter testing so far is Jacob Curry. Ginger Ninja, folks. Watch out for that dude. And winter testing is winter testing. A guy that demonstrates supreme athletic traits does not a good football player make. But there is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, a correlation between guys that test well right when they show up to campus and guys that wind up being big-time players for Oklahoma down the road. So you got Jacob Curry. You got Brian Harris, another guy for whom there are high expectations. in the state of Florida. Daniel Norman is somebody that both you and I have referenced as a player that has definite potential to outpace his ranking and exceed the expectations that high 3-star designation would bring with a guy like Norman to Norman, Oklahoma. Postal Johnny O, there you go. Here's another good one. And I was going to bring up R. Mason Thomas, but right alongside R. Mason Thomas was his high school teammate that Oklahoma made a run at, hosted for an official visit, almost landed in that same cycle, and that was Ahmad Moten. Ahmad Moten wound up at Miami. Played very well for them over his 4 seasons on campus. They did get R. Mason Thomas, and R. Mason Thomas, of course, is somebody that is more than likely going to be a top 50 NFL draft pick this offseason. So Oklahoma's been really, really good at evaluating talent in the state of Florida and landing dudes from the state of Florida. The one guy, and you brought him up already this segment, but the one guy that had immense potential if he had just been able to put it together mentally was Lewis Carter. Lewis Carter was a freaking missile, man, out of high school. The type of dude that when you watched his tape, you would have said back then in 2022 when he committed to OU, that dude has no business being a Sooner. That dude should be a Georgia Bulldog, or he should go play in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like, that's one of those dudes that the old guard in the Southeastern Conference typically did not let escape from the region. And Oklahoma was able to get him, and there was a lot of belief that he was going to be a big-time player, and he had all the athleticism to make it happen, but just could not grasp mentally all of the responsibilities that came with playing linebacker in Brent Venables' scheme. And so there was a divorce there. After 2 years, he wound up transferring back home to UCF. But his high school teammate is still here, Eddie Pierre-Louis.
Yeah.
Eddie Pierre-Louis still here. And he is going to be your starting left guard.
And I think he's got the potential to be a problem for other teams.
Yeah, man. I mean, he, alongside Ryan Foje and Michael Fasusi, and perhaps even more so than both those guys, like, there's an argument to be made. Eddie Pierre-Louis is the freakiest athlete on Oklahoma's starting offensive line next season. Now, there's still some areas in his game that need refinement, need polishing, no doubt. But somebody that if he's not a cornerstone of the roster in 2026 or not regarded as such, he certainly will be by 2027. 405-651-3439 is the text line if you want to make your voice heard throughout the show. We'll go back to the text line and continue breaking down OU football and recruiting storylines coming up on the other side. Keep it here on Locked In. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs. Whether it's a new install or repair work, let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
It's a new year at OKC's favorite casino, and Riverwind is the best place to play.
Choose from nearly 3,000 electronic games, or catch the hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater.
Thunder up and hit it big on classic table games.
Play with your wild card, and every Friday in January,
you could win your share of our $100,000 cold hard cash giveaway. Riverwind Casino, your home for good times.
Hey, it's Chris Plank. Join TJ Perry and myself weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. with The Plank Show. Nobody covers every Sooner sport like we do here at The Ref. So make sure, from border to border and coast to coast, to download the K-Ref app, presented by Warren Cat. It's the best way to stay connected with the home of Sooner fans, no matter where you are. Simply search KREF from the Apple app or Google Play Store and take us with you everywhere. Download the app today. The K-Ref app, presented by Warren Cat, proud sponsor of Sooner Athletics. Plumbing and air conditioning problems seem to happen at the worst time. Hey, it's Chris Plank here. And a while back when we had a plumbing issue at our home, our first call was to Norman Air. The team at Norman Air was great, from upfront pricing to alerts before the tech arrived. The whole experience from start to finish was great. With financing available to their Max membership and servicing from North Edmond all the way south to Purcell, Norman Air is the go-to for HVAC, plumbing, and electrical issues. Visit normanair.com today.
Looking for the ultimate clean without the scratches? Visit Edmond Car Wash, Edmond's most advanced wash. With 2 convenient locations at 1401 South Broadway and 200 Brookfield, you'll find self-serve bays, touchless automatics, and eco-friendly soaps. Open 24/7, no membership required. Basic car washes start at just $10, and you can even give your dog a bath at our Broadway location. Keep your car and your pup shining, only at Edmond Car Wash. Charge up your new year at Confidence Ford of Norman. Come experience a new 2025 Ford Mustang Mach-E with $11,000 in savings or 0% APR for 72 months. Or get behind the wheel of a sporty new 2025 Ford Maverick XLT and save $8,000. Need service? We've got a top-rated service center with Ford-certified master technicians. Come visit us today at 825 North Interstate Drive or visit us online at confidenceford.com. Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. Our family loves and supports the mission of Meals on Wheels of Norman. We invite you to share the love with them during our Super Bowl sale. Our Super Bowl sale is a little different. It's all about soup or other cans that can be distributed by Meals on Wheels. Bring in 5 cans and get half off one item in our store now through Sunday, February 2nd. It's the perfect time to choose something for your Valentine and show some love to those in need in our community. Mitchell's Jewelry in the heart of Norman at 2201 West Main Street.
Come on down to River Bottom Nursery at one of their 2 locations in OKC. Now under new ownership, River Bottom serves both the commercial industry as well as the gardener and homeowner at both their plant and tree nursery locations. River Bottom Nursery has everything you need to make your yard paradise. Call them today, 405-735-3636, or swing by one of their 2 locations. RiverbottomNursery.com, Oklahoma City's premier tree and plant nursery.
It is locked in here on the Ref, Oklahoma Sooner fans. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton riding along with you on this Tuesday. Did you just score us some venison on the text line? Did that happen?
I think I may have.
Incredible work. Who's providing that for us?
Courtesy of our friend Hawaiian Sooner.
Hawaiian Sooner. You, sir, are the man.
What a G.
What a G for real. We appreciate you. Glad you're part of the Locked In family. Meanwhile, we have Toby, not Roland, on the text line saying, Parker, could you be any more narcissistic? Is it necessary to sound condescending when you talk about recruiting? Listen, Toby, we're all having a good time here, okay? If you don't like the way I sound, you don't have to listen. The reason why this show regularly gets the highest text line interaction of the day on these airwaves is because we're all just chatting with one another. People feel welcome to weigh in, and they are. This is everybody's show. We just happen to be the 2 with microphones.
When in that first segment did you sound condescending?
I don't know, but
I saw that in the break. I was like,
to be fair,
what is he talking about?
Toby had also previously sent 5 texts in a row that read simply, Parker, could you be any more narcissistic? So he has an axe to grind with me. It's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah,
but
that was 2 weeks ago.
405 listener says, do you guys know the true size of Bo Bentley? He is listed at 6'1" and 200 pounds on the Sooner Sports website. I heard an interview with his high school coach who said Bentley had grown to close to 6'3", and I believe he has bulked up to over 200 pounds. Yeah, well, unless that growth spurt happened in the last 2 months since I last stood face-to-face with Bo Bentley, he's not close to 6'3". He is 6'1" and 200 pounds. Because I am 6'1", I am about 185. Naturally, somebody who plays quarterback at the P4 level is going to be quite a bit more muscular than me. But, for all intents and purposes, Bo Bentley and I are the exact same size. So, we're standing directly eye to eye. Bo Bentley's a solid 6'1". So, these days, I think we're kind of past the point, or we've maybe moved into a new era where the modern quarterback doesn't have to be the 6'4", 6'5" titan that he once was in some of those old schemes. But Bo Bentley is a guy that's going to be, I would say, in his final form, reminiscent of the last couple of quarterbacks that Oklahoma has had in Jackson Arnold and John Mateer. Both guys that are about 6'1", 220 or 225 pounds. They'll put more mass on Bo Bentley, naturally, but he's going to be that same type of guy. He will be that same type of athlete. Blake from Owasso wants to know, more likely that OU gets Quentin Hale or Jalen Scott? That's an interesting question, Blake. Talking about two guys that are on completely different ends of the spectrum geographically and that play different positions. If you're asking me just between those two right now, I would say Jalen Scott, but they've got more than a puncher's chance with Quentin Hale, the talented blue-chip wideout out of Cathedral High School in California. Now, also of note with regard to the wide receiver conversation, blue-chip OU target Zarek Sidney, high school teammate of OU commit Mikhail Davis down at Desert Edge High in the state of Arizona. Zarek Sidney is going to be committing on Thursday. Now, things could always take a turn late because this is recruiting. But as of right now, I expect he's going to commit to Washington. So that's a guy that OU has been pursuing. OU's obviously had a very high rate when it comes to closing with their key targets in the 2027 class, a high success rate, I should say. But it doesn't look like they're going to wind up with Zarek Sidney. That said, there are many other viable options out there at the wide receiver position. So I don't know that you're looking at this guy as one you have to have necessarily.
I mean, wide receiver is, I don't want to say a dime a dozen because I don't want to be condescending to a guy who is a very good player in Zarek Sidney, but the United States is chock full of wide receivers. So not a debilitating loss if that does, in fact, go the direction of the Huskies.
580 Mike Conjure says, I'm still shook over the fact that Arbuckle is 6'4".
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, man.
I did not think that guy was 6'4".
Well, you got to keep in mind, he was an outstanding high school quarterback at Canadian High back in his playing days. Had a scholarship to go to UTSA. Didn't take it for whatever reason. I should do some more research on the backstory there, but had a scholarship to go to UTSA, didn't wind up taking it, spent a year or two out of football, and then wound up playing collegiately at West Texas A&M, which is a D2 school, and a pretty good D2 school. But, yeah, man, Arbuckle, a legit 6'4". So, you ever see him standing next to a QB target or a target at any other position that isn't standing eye to eye with him, just know it's probably not because that guy's small.
Another texter in the 405 says, R. Mason Thomas is a solid player, but where is our Bane Mesidor? Miami found Mesidor at West Virginia and then developed him into a first-round pick, and that's a completely different talent level. Where's our Keontae Scott and Jacoby Thomas? I'm talking violent safeties. And the reason I brought that text up now is because you mentioned Jalen Scott, the safety out of Alabama. I think Jalen Scott can be a pretty violent dude.
He's a fun watch on tape.
I watched it before we got on the show today.
And I'll tell you, man, the other guy that if Oklahoma landed at safety would be an absolute boon for this class, and I know you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier off air, is Bodie Sparrow from the state of Utah. Come on, man. You want to talk about an exciting white, a premium cracker? It is that dude. He reminds me of another Utah product in Celesi Moa, a guy that just earned 5-star distinction with Rivals today. Signed with Utah, entered the transfer portal as a short-term signee in early January. He's going to follow Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. So he will be a Wolverine. He'll be a guy that Oklahoma sees next September. But I was so enamored with Celesi Moa as a prospect because he does play with violence. He plays with a high level of instinct and just has the type of fluid athleticism that you don't see a ton of across the country in any recruiting class. It's not that hard to watch him on tape and conclude, hey, that's a really special athlete. That is a premium football player.
Yes.
And Moa, similar to Bodie Sparrow, is a guy that could legit have a high level, not only collegiate future, but NFL future at either wide receiver or safety. I'm not sure what the plan is for him at Michigan. I know the plan at Utah was wide receiver. I'm not sure whether Michigan has a different vision. I would assume it would be the same vision as how it's going to be much of the same coaching staff. But for Bodie Sparrow, that's a guy that OU favors at safety. If you got him to campus, man, and for whatever reason you just decided, we can spare him from our safety group. We're going to flip him around, have him play offense. Man, he's a guy that would play early for OU at wide receiver as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's an uphill battle for them to land Bodie Sparrow, because you and I were talking about just how hard it is to get Utah kids away from Utah and BYU. So that's going to be an uphill battle. But the Jalen Scott kid, man, like him a lot. And it's not just the fact that he's a headhunter, but also tracks the ball so well and has really good instincts. I really like that kid. But to that texter's question, where's our violent safeties? Michael Boganowski's probably going to be the starting free safety this year.
Yep.
There's your answer.
Ain't no doubt. Boganowski at one safety, the free. Peyton Bowen at the other safety, the strong. And who fills in behind those two is going to be really interesting to monitor, because you can count on Amarian Robinson seeing a lot of snaps. But there's going to be margin for a guy like Markel Ford to elbow his way into a seat at the table. We'll see how ready Nico Jandro is, and he's a guy that's dealt with injuries, so can he stay healthy is probably going to be the biggest thing, because if you've seen the Jandro brothers, they are physically ready to play SEC football. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So cognitively, is he ready to step into the scheme and perform in year one? That's really the only thing that's going to hold Jandro back, or Nico Jandro, that is. And I guess the same would be true for Bo, even at linebacker, is as soon as they are ready mentally, and provided they're both able to stay healthy, those are two guys that are going to play. Just no matter how long that takes. Jay in Tulsa says, keep up the great info and humor, PT. You too, Grayson. Condescension equates to words, phrases, and tones thereof that said texter can't understand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that, I know I have a certain style of speaking and a certain style of broadcasting that I suppose, if you didn't know any better or just didn't know me, could come across as highbrow. Anybody that knows me knows that this is just kind of how I am. I'm not looking through my thesaurus every morning going, which big words can I fit into the broadcast today? This is just who I am. This is just how I am. I chalk it up to how I was raised. My parents made it a point to really expand my vocabulary, especially my dad, who's a pastor, communicates for a living. So this is just kind of what I became. It's not something I try to be.
Michael on the YouTube chat says, Omarion Robinson is the best cover safety on the roster, corner cover skills for a safety position.
Yeah, I would say it's between him and Peyton Bowen.
I would agree with that.
Although Boganowski has come a long way in the coverage department since he showed up. There's been a lot of growth there.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I think it wasn't necessarily a priority for Oklahoma to go add a safety in the transfer portal this offseason and roll into 2026 with Boganowski as the projected starter.
Yeah. And also, Reggie Powers, who's likely going to slide in at Cheetah, he lacks no violence either.
Yeah, man.
I
wonder how
Missouri
much
found that one out.
Yeah, I wonder how much South Carolina found it out too.
Yeah.
Remember, he almost got ejected from that game for targeting.
Mm-hmm.
But Reggie Powers, I'll be curious to see how much safety he plays next year. And I think that could largely be dictated by how ready some of those younger guys are to potentially step into a role where they're playing rotational snaps at Cheetah.
I was going to ask you, who do you think is the number 2 and or 3 at Cheetah?
Again, I am very hesitant to put too much stock into winter testing numbers. But if he's as good in pads,
I know where you're going,
as he is in shorts.
I know where you're going.
Give me a little bit of Jacob Curry at Cheetah, actually, because he's only about 6'1", 205, so he doesn't have that true linebacker size yet. He's kind of like Samuel Masigo when Samuel Masigo showed up here. Sammy morphed into a true linebacker because he bulked up and bulked up and bulked up some more, but that took time. And in his freshman year at Oklahoma, when he was on the field at Cheetah. And with as superb of an athlete as Jacob Curry has proven to be since he showed up, if it translates, once the pads come on, and we're hearing the types of things about Jacob Curry in March and April and then August that we're hearing about him right now in January, there could be a year one role for him at that Cheetah spot.
Does Markel Ford, in your mind, have Cheetah versatility as well? Or is that just a safety corner?
That to me is a guy that is much akin to Boganowski in the sense that many are going to tout the possibility he could slide down to Cheetah, and realistically he could. He could play that position, but Oklahoma never wanted to get too deep into the Cheetah experiment with Boganowski because they thought he was just going to be an absolute menace at free safety. That was going to be his spot. That was going to be his thing, and they were going to cut him loose there. And I kind of think the same way with regard to Markel Ford. Could he play the Cheetah? Sure. But I really like the idea of just developing him and working him into the rotation for 2 years under Boganowski, and then he is the guy at that spot taking over the reins in 2028 when he's a junior. So you can do with him essentially exactly what you did with Boganowski. He got a 2-year apprenticeship under Robert Spears Jennings.
Yes.
Markel Ford gets a 2-year apprenticeship under Michael Boganowski.
It's a pretty good plan. And also, I think working somebody in at just one position has a lot of upside. Instead of, hey, learn this and learn this, especially in a complex system like Venables.
405-651-3439 is how you hit us up and make your voice heard. On the text line, here throughout Locked In, we're here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. One more segment on the other side as we keep it rolling here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is The Ref, home of Sooner fans.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Tired of feeling pressured by salespeople when shopping for auto insurance? At Right Way Insurance, there's no hard sell, just a clear, straightforward approach. We work with multiple insurance companies to give you the best options and rates with no gimmicks. You'll get the right coverage tailored to your needs, all while avoiding hidden fees and confusing policies. So if you're ready for a better experience with auto insurance, visit rightwayinsuranceok.com or call 405-607-6014 for your free quote today. Right Way Insurance, no pressure, just the right insurance for you.
No one plans for an injury, but when the worst happens, count on the best orthopedic team to turn your setbacks into comebacks. Ortho Central's comprehensive care has you covered, from expert orthopedic surgery and sports medicine to in-house imaging, physical therapy, and even a bone health clinic. So whether it's a fracture, a tear, or just life catching up with you, we're here to get you moving again. Ortho Central, it's in our bones to take care of yours. Learn more at orthocentralok.com.
Entrepreneurs and More Norman in South Oklahoma City have an experienced business partner in their neighborhood. More Norman Technology Center's workforce and economic development team understands the challenges entrepreneurs and small businesses face every day. From building an effective business model to hiring the right employees and managing cash flow, More Norman's business development experts can help you move forward confidently and thrive, knowing that you have a skilled partner at your side. Learn more about More Norman's Technology Center by calling 405-801-5000 or visit us online at mntc.edu.
Are you looking for a luxury apartment for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning 2- and 3-bedroom spacious floor plans with large walk-in closets, washer and dryer hookup, and a fabulous kitchen in a well-maintained, calm environment. From plush carpet to sleek stainless steel appliances to a pool, 24-hour fitness, and 2 dog parks, the Falls at Brookhaven has it all. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com for a free tour and see what living in luxury is like.
in Iraq. Our truck hit a roadside bomb. I had about 16 surgeries on my hand so that I could regain function. And when I came home, I needed a new roof due to a storm. And I was about to lose homeowners insurance as well. I applied for Operation Homefront Critical Financial Assistance Program. And it's good to know that when we come home, there are people who are there that care about us. Operation Homefront, they've really been a blessing.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
How serious is youth vaping? Irreversible lung damage serious. 1 in 10 kids vape serious, which warrants a serious conversation from a serious parental figure like yourself. Not the seriously know-it-all sports dad or the seriously smart podcaster. It requires a serious conversation that is best had by you. No, seriously, the best person to talk to your child about vaping is you. To start the conversation, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
One smile is great, but one smile in a community of smiles is so much better. Smile Train celebrates the cleft lip and palate community by empowering medical professionals in over 70 countries to perform essential cleft care in their local communities. Learn how Smile Train is helping the cleft lip and palate community at smiletrain.org/learn. Smile Train, changing the world one smile at a time.
Hit the text line if you want to chime in throughout the show at 405-651-3439. Always love hearing from you, your opinions, your questions, your feedback. 2 questions flew in, one from Chris Tate and one from a listener in Kansas that kind of go hand in hand in a certain way. Grayson, Chris asked, with the additions we've added at wide receiver in the portal, does Jaden Petit see the field next year? And then that listener in Kansas asked, is Nigel Smith going to play a big role on the defensive line? Who are we recruiting for the 2027 defensive line? Well, as far as the 2027 defensive line, several commits already on board. You have Devin Robertson, the 3-star defensive tackle from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You have Elijah Harmon, the 4-star defensive tackle from Inglewood, California. And you have Crew Jones, the 4-star defensive end from Orem, Utah. Now, the Sooners are in pursuit of several other guys, most notably Zane Rowe, the 4-star defensive lineman from Denton, Texas, who was at one point committed to Oklahoma and for whom the Sooners still lead, despite the fact that he decommitted last January. But with regard to the first half of that listener in Kansas's question about Nigel Smith and to Chris's question about Jaden Petit, I think those 2 guys are in very similar circumstances. Grayson, here's what I mean by that. When you look at the composition of Oklahoma's defensive tackle room right now, and you look at the composition of Oklahoma's wide receiver room, the defensive tackle room is 3 deep, at least, with proven veterans. Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Bishop Thomas, the Georgia State transfer. The wide receiver room is 7 deep with guys that have already either produced or are very well expected and reasonably expected to emerge in a big way in 2026. You have Parker Livingston, Trell Harris, and Isaiah Satania as kind of your first line. And then behind those guys, you have Elijah Thomas, Emmanuel Choice, Jermichael Carter, and Jacob Jordan. So you have 7 receivers that are absolutely going to be in the mix one way or another. You have 3 defensive tackles that are absolutely going to be in the mix one way or another. The way it sets up for both Nigel Smith and Jaden Petit is the underlying message that the Oklahoma front office and staff is sending to those 2 guys with the way that they have built those rooms and the personnel they're in is make us put you on the field. Does Oklahoma need Jaden Petit to play a big role in 2026 to have success as a team? No.
Absolutely not.
Do they need Nigel Smith to have a big year in 2026 to have success as a team? No. But if those guys take a huge step forward, well, in Smith's case, take a huge step forward, or in Petit's case, just show up and prove that you're ready from the jump, then those are guys that can absolutely wriggle their way into the mix. There is room there. There is margin there for both of those guys to play a substantial role in the rotation at their respective positions. But you don't have to necessarily bank on that if you're Oklahoma.
No, I think that's the great way of putting that. And I do think I see a more foreseeable path for Nigel Smith to make an impact just by sheer numbers. Like, I think there's too many wide receivers, unless Jaden Petit just happens to be better than even you and I think he's going to be, and he's just better than Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice, and he's just better than Jermichael Carter. Okay, then maybe, but I think that's a little bit of a lofty expectation. But in Nigel Smith's case, there's a lot less barrier to entry to get on the field than there is for Jaden Petit. So if I would say which one's more likely, I would say Nigel Smith, given that he's already here and the room comparably is a little bit thinner.
Mm-hmm. Back to the text line, 405-651-3439. WF Sooner asks, how is it looking with the Osborne and Stanford guys? Will OU get it done with those two, or is it going to be tough to get them both? So referring to the top two defensive backs in the state of Oklahoma in the 2027 cycle, both of whom hold offers from the Sooners. Gabe Osborne, the 4-star corner from Mustang, Oklahoma. And Samaj Stanford, the 4-star safety from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And look, this is just kind of the nature of the show because we feel a lot of questions about in-state guys. We talk about in-state guys a lot, especially in this 2027 class because there are so many good ones and so many that OU is heavily interested in. So Samaj Stanford and Gabe Osborne will be popular topics of conversation in the weeks and months to come. But as things stand right now with those two, Oklahoma, I would say, leads slightly for both of those guys. The problem is other schools have substantially closed the gap. And I think each of those two is coming to the increasing realization that they can make a lot of money out of high school, signing with whatever their school of choice happens to be. Because if you have watched a single minute of Gabriel Osborne or you've watched a single minute of Samaj Stanford, you know those are two talents, the likes of which you do not see every year in the state of Oklahoma at that position. You do not see defensive backs of that caliber come out of the Sooner State every single recruiting cycle. Gabe Osborne is going to be a high six-figure type of dude. Samaj Stanford is going to be a high six-figure type of dude. And there are programs, or I should say there may be programs, that would be willing to approach the seven-figure threshold or exceed it in order to lock those guys down.
And since you brought that up, what is going to be the financial approach from Oklahoma, do you think, when it comes to a corner and a safety?
Yeah. Well, with the junior season that Osborne had, the junior season that Stanford had, and just what it did to affect their stock nationally, I would say it's reasonable to expect OU splits with those guys. Goes 1 for 2.
Okay.
I would say that's a fair expectation.
Okay.
Because I don't know that you're going to be able to get them both with the monetary demands that are going to be on the table. At least not without a ton of support and peer pressure from some of the OU commits within state lines that are already locked in with the Sooners and not going anywhere. Like Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny and those guys, they're going to have to sow a lot into Samaj Stanford's recruitment and Gabe Osborne's recruitment to help complement what Oklahoma's doing on the staff side, on the front office side, to make those two feel like the fit is in Norman for them and home is in Norman for them. At a certain point, though, you're playing the numbers game. And you got to balance the budget, and you got to understand there's not room in the budget for everybody. There's not going to be room in the budget for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's an outstanding 2027 class in the state of Oklahoma, and it is deep. One of the deepest in the 21st century in this state. And what that means is, in all likelihood, you're going to wind up with 6 or 7 signees from the state. But you're not going to sweep. And the reason you're not going to sweep, the reason it's not going to be a completely clean sweep of all of the OU targets within state lines is because there are a lot of high-dollar guys in that tier and amongst that contingent. You have Cooper Hackett on board. You have Caden Penny on board. That's great. Love where Oklahoma stands with Case Alexander, obviously. Ben Kolar's right down the road. Oklahoma's had some issues recruiting Norman North in recent years, but maybe Kolar is the guy with whom they finally break through. And you can go on down the list. Osborne and Stanford right there at the top. Titus Hawk from Choctaw. The Sooners are going to sign a pretty healthy crop of in-state commits in the 2027 cycle, but they're not going to be able to get everybody because at a certain point, there just aren't enough silver dollars to go around.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's reality.
Yeah. And obviously you figure out which one of those you prioritize. I like Gabe Osborne and Samaj Stanford both. Seen them both with my own eyes, called games of both of them. They're fantastic. You're going to have to figure out based on what your numbers look like, not just with bodies, but with allocated dollars as well, which one you're going to prioritize, and you'll get a good one either way.
A listener down in Poto, Oklahoma, asked, where does the QB from Broken Bow end up? There's a guy, Graydon Howell, within state lines that we've talked about quite a bit on this show. Doesn't hold an OU offer right now. The OU staff has been in touch with him, though. Could an offer be forthcoming? It certainly could. The interesting question with a kid like that, though, is what does OU see him as? What do they want to do with him positionally? Because he does play quarterback. But as we've talked about, he has P4 offers at 4 different positions: quarterback, running back, slot receiver, safety. So where does OU see Graydon Howell fitting into the equation, and where does he fit in on Oklahoma's board right now with some of the commits that they already have at key positions and guys with whom they're trending strong at key positions?
I figured we were going to get this text. The texter in the 972. If there are not enough silver dollars to go around the table, then there will not be a national championship there anytime soon.
I get it. I get where you're coming from with that text. I absolutely get it. But the national title was just won by the Indiana Hoosiers. We got Michigan in 2023 as the national champions, Ohio State in 2024, and Indiana in 2025. Now, obviously, there are resources that abound at Michigan and Indiana. Neither of those schools is broke necessarily. And we know that Ohio State is a big money program that spends a lot in the realm of talent acquisition, specifically, I should say. But I think we need to get past the notion that it takes $30-40 million in the modern era to build a national championship team. Because I don't know what the exact figure for Indiana's payroll this last year is, and by no means is Indiana the norm. But a team like Indiana beating a team like Miami demonstrates that money isn't everything. Coaching matters, development matters, and so how much do you trust the coaching staff at the University of Oklahoma to help compensate for whatever gap there might be between Oklahoma's spending capacity and the teams that are at the absolute top of the totem pole when it comes to spending capacity? Oklahoma can build a national championship roster. We'll have to see what it looks like in fall camp in August, and we'll have to see what it looks like in non-conference play, but I don't know that Oklahoma has a national championship roster here in 2026. If it's not a national championship caliber roster, though, it's not terribly far off.
It's a playoff roster.
Yeah, like you have a top 15 roster in the sport, an argument could be made for top 10. In my mind.
Okay.
Where do you stand on that?
I can live with that. Top 15, I would be more comfortable than top 10. I just got to see it. But, no, I think that's reasonable. But I think what is undisputed is that it is a playoff roster.
You got to spend big for the key positions. You got to have a quarterback that can ball. You got to have weapons for that quarterback. You got to have a strong left tackle to protect that quarterback. As you've talked about, Grayson, you always want to have an outstanding defensive end that can put heat on the quarterback. The opposing quarterback, I should say. And you look at some of those hallmarks. Oklahoma had them this past year. They had our Mason Thomas. They had Michael Fasusi. They had Isaiah Satania at wide receiver, even though you probably don't want that guy being wide receiver, or a guy like that being your wide receiver 1 year in, year out. But as long as you're willing to pay the premium for guys at the most important positions, the positions that would be considered most important, you're going to be able to have more than a prayer going up against the most expensive rosters in college football. And most expensive doesn't always equal best, as empirical data has borne out over the last 5 years.
And I think it'll always, last thing, I think it'll always come back to, is your quarterback going to be able to elevate you?
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It'll be the biggest thing for Oklahoma in 2026.
Yes, it will.
Because Oklahoma has surrounded they have surrounded John Mateer, I should say, with plenty of exciting pieces up front and at the skill positions. Comes down to what can you get out of John Mateer? Can he put your program over the top? And then who comes next, of course? Is it Bo Bentley? Is it Whit Neubauer? Is it a transfer whose identity we are not yet sure of? Whatever the case, folks, we'll be right here with you for all of it. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton, it's a wrap here on today's installment of Locked In. The Rush coming up next here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.